Well, we're live. We've got one waiting and two likes. Let's see if I can just get the good morning. Thanks for joining. It's Saturday morning live with Johnny Boy. I always have to keep repeating this story because it's as and when people join us. So I apologise if you've heard it once. There he is, Lee. Your delivery will be going out. We've been absolutely hectic this week, so you will be having your little gift coming soon, mate. So bear with us while we get sorted. Yeah, welcome to Saturday Morning Live. Lots of things to talk about. I think we've got a guest calling this morning at 10:45. So we've got a few minutes just to get familiar about who we are, where we're from, and what we're doing. I don't know what sort of week that you've had, but it's been a bit of a slog this week because we're not used to this hot weather. At last, the hot weather has arrived, and when the hot weather arrives, it brings a few problems with it, doesn't it? And I see a lot of pictures people sending me. I gotta say, I don't want this channel to be all about grouting and porcelain and that sort of stuff. I wanna hear from people. I wanna hear what you're doing. I wanna hear where you're from. I wanna hear what motivates you and what keeps you going. And if you've got any advice or tips, is to share it onto this community. Andy Curry, good morning, Andy. Back again. And Lee, we'll get out to you, mate. So don't worry. It's yours, that section cut. We gave that section cut away last week, and Lee won it. So there you go. Andy Curry, good morning, Andy. Just want to know where you're from and what you're doing, and what's the plans for the weekend. This channel is not just about me. All I'm doing is I'm orchestrating and bringing a community together. I'm just trying to get the channel up now so I can actually start seeing people's comments. Let's turn that sound down. There we are. There we are. I can start seeing. There we are. Andy Curry. Yeah, no worries. I can see what everybody's saying now. Yeah. So important to hear from you. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. It's so important to hear from you because I know what's happening on this community is that there are people that are helping each other, and the fact is some of them are actually contacting each other during the week. Lee says my missus keeps me going, usually standing behind me with a whip. That sounds promising, that does. Look at that. We've got me just trying to get my glasses on. Allison's giving me my glasses. It's been absolutely a dream again, as per usual. Behind every good man, there's a good woman, or even a better woman. And there is certainly with Allison. So we've got 9 viewers. We've got 2 likes. Come on, guys, get on there. Hit the like button. Good to see you this morning. Andy Curry says, from Sandhurst, attempting my first patio project. And it's my biggest challenge. And seriously, if you need any help with it, if you want to call me, if I can offer some help, if I can be humble enough to actually say that, if you need any advice, just give me a call because I'd love to speak to you and help you through that process. There we go. And a little visitor there. Look, there are without doubt, scary women, JB. What's her name, Lee? We want to know what her name is, See, this is what it's all about. Look, there is, come on, I want to see some more likes on here. Now, only 2 likes, hit the notification button. Maybe bitten off more than I can chew. No, you haven't, Andy. You haven't at all. I think the biggest thing about paving and projects and doing something that's new and different for the first time is that it's the size of things that we have to deal with. The scale of Nicola. Hi, Nicola. Good morning. Lucia Williams. Good morning, Lucia. I think Alison's going to bring me a bottle of water because I've been eating some salted peanuts because I thought I needed the salt, and it's in my throat here. Good morning, Lucia. How you doing? Lucia here from stylepaving.co.uk. Good to see you. Looking forward to the show. Lots to talk about. Yeah, if you look now, guys, Philip Jones. How's it going, Phil? Phil, did you message me and I haven't responded? If you want to give me a call after, my number is 07795 595 994. Always prepared to give my number out, and if it helps a community, whether you're a consumer or a contractor, I'm here for you. .com, Lucia, you can actually get your link on there if you guys are looking for any paving. Now's the time. If you guys looking for any of the paving, Lucia Williams from style.com's on here this morning, and I'm sure she'll be more than happy to share the link of Style. We shared it the other week. Do you know, I got to say, Lucia, I love the video that Matt did the other day, yesterday. Fantastic video, and it spoke volumes. the little dog Tilky, and how you were talking about things. Matt was delivering. It was just the delivery was just absolutely spot on. If they was giving Oscars away for videos on promotional products, I think he done it then. Lee says, and I just done, but not just finished, my first and last patio, 60 square meters, so you will be fine. Yeah, absolutely. This is Lee giving some support there to Andy Curry. Andy, don't worry about it. It's very simple. I'm going to be writing an article soon on how I feel, in my opinion, on how to lay a good porcelain patio, sandstone, granite, or whatever. And what we got to think of is that it's so important to get the base right, the foundations of anything that we do in life. Foundations are critical to the success of anything. So we got to get the foundations right. I think where a lot of people actually fail on a regular basis when it comes to patios is simply the grouting. Without a doubt, I see so many pictures, and not just the grouting, right from the word go. Wow, well done, Lee. Andy Curry, see, it can be done. And I think what we got to try and do, it's slowly wins the game. That's what you got to do. You got to sort of remain sort of like positive, and you've got to just calm down and just don't get carried away and worry about it too much, because sometimes we worry about things when we don't need to worry about those things, you know. And you just got to step by step, baby steps. That's all it is. So if you're thinking about laying a patio, if you want to run through it with me, I'd be more than happy to help anybody out there. If you're a consumer and you've had a few problems with your paving, your patio, your gardening, your lawn, your pergola, your fencing, and if I can offer any help or advice, you can drop me an email at info@greentoplandscapes.co.uk. info@greentoplandscapes.co.uk. If you've had any problems on your paving or in your garden, or if you need some advice, or if you just want to talk about something that you're planning in the future, just drop us an email, or give us a ring on 07795 595 994. It's amazing. Last week I was just 100 miles an hour. I couldn't even string two words together, but this morning I seem to be doing it. So, hey Lucia, it's good to actually have you on here, but I want to see style.com on here now, see if you can actually get a link up on the live stream as we're speaking now. Look guys, thanks for calling this morning. We've got 10 likes, we've got 14 viewers. This is Saturday morning live with Johnny Boy for the consumer and the contractor, okay, bringing the two communities together, and we can battle it out on here. We should be having a caller calling it at 10:45. I ain't going to say who it is. You can hear from him himself. I've given a little bit away there, and he's been on here before, and it'd be good to sort of get him on here ASAP. If he's watching now, you can give us a call there now. I nearly said his name then, didn't I? I'm digressing now. Look, it's such a shame. This is the thing. It's such a shame. This is the point that I want to talk about. It's awful when you see when those pictures come through where people have had work done. I had a lady on Instagram last night sending me some just bits and pieces where they've had the garden done, and they've been severely, and I mean severely, let down in the garden on their patio in this case. Do I want to keep talking about patios all the time? No, I don't. But what I want to try and talk about is offering help to people who actually need it. That's what this channel is about, you know. It is so sad to see when somebody's spent an awful lot of money, their hard-earned money, in a garden project, and it just falls foul to one thing or another. And usually it's about communication. It's not a good thing. Andy Curry says, I have just come in from the garden to ask a live question. I'm about to lay my first sleeper on a bed of 50mm concrete, and I have no idea how far the sleeper is likely to sink in, and therefore how much thicker would you make it? Any advice? Any quick advice? No, listen, and Rob Fry says good morning. Good morning, Rob. He's saying good morning to you as well, Alison. Rob Fry, good to see you, Rob. Just show that. I don't know whether that's saying. Oh, show I. There we show it now. Andy Curry, look, what we got to do, what we have to think about is the weight of stuff. If we see a sleeper in a vertical format, right, there's more likely that sleeper with the weight condensed on one point, the driving forces is it's going to go down a lot quicker. But when we look at a sleeper in a horizontal format on a bed of concrete, the likelihood that it's not going to slip into the ground. What I would always do is that it's good to actually get through the organic soil and get through it to the substrate and probably put a bit of sub base, then maybe a little bit of concrete. But always, always, the most important thing is a compaction. You've got to get the compaction rates correct. So when we look at sleepers in a vertical format, they probably need a little bit more because you've got maybe a 6 foot sleeper or 2.4 sleeper right in that vertical format. I'm not saying they're going to be laid like that, but if they were, there's more weight going down at one point over a small area. The footprint is a lot smaller, a lot of weight going down. But when we see a sleeper in a horizontal format, the likelihood that it's not going to go down to the ground, therefore you're not going to need so much. But of course, you've got to think about what it's retaining. If we're going one height, it's absolutely fine. But what I always do, any higher than that, you're going to have to start thinking a little bit more in depth, Andy, about how the sleeper should be. Yeah, added the sub base and completely compacted it best I can. That's fine. And listen, you don't always need those machines, those compaction tools, the whacker plates, compactor plates, whatever you want to call them, right? You don't always need those. You can get quite good compaction by using your feet, or you can get a timber with a board nailed on the end, and that's more than sufficient. God, I actually know someone. I think it's the pollen for me. So that's what we got to think about, is think about the compaction rates. It's the compaction rates that's going to stabilize and give that sleeper some longevity and integrity. What I would tend to do, Andy, if you listen to this now, is maybe drive some 6-inch nails into the bottom at different points, at angles as well. So when it goes into the concrete, because they're at an angle, it won't pull out either. You've got to think about the wood actually swelling and actually pulling up and down on certain points. If it's oak, it's a little bit different. Wherever the sleeper is going against the bank or whatever, you have to think about using probably a membrane. I wouldn't use a DPM or a rubber solution, because what's going to happen is just going to make the timber sweat. You've got to use a barrier, a breathable barrier, to stop the water going on there, but still enabling the sleeper to breathe. Sounds all a little bit complicated, but it's not. And what I always do is think about it like a little bit of drainage behind. You don't want any water holding and building up on your sleeper. You want when the rain goes through that really rich organic soil, if you've got it in that case, you want the water to permeate through the ground below the sleeper. So try and get once you put your sleeper in position, try and build a little channel possibly, and maybe with some gravel or maybe with some land drain pipe, wrap it so the water can move on and it's not, the foot of the sleeper is not sat in water. It's so important. I've got people walking past the window again, as per usual. Mario's joined this morning. Mario, how are you going? It's Steve there as well, from Steve, our civilized. I consider them in 250mm sleeping screws. There we are. That's good comments there. Garth Williams joined us. Good morning, Garth. How's it going? And I love it when people actually include Alison in the good morning and they welcome her. Thanks very much, because she's a major part of what I do. Good morning, Mario. Mario, I'm so sorry that we couldn't give that suction cup away, but we had to go to give it to Lee. Here we are. We've got a caller coming in. Here we are right now. I want to read what people say. DI Detail, speak to you in a minute, mate. Hold on 2 seconds. 1 second, audio. Good morning.
Good morning, John.
All right, I think, bear with me, Nick. I'm going to just get Alison to, I think I can do it. When it comes to techie, I just need to turn that up a little bit. Can you just speak now, Nick? Hello, Nick?
Hello?
Yeah, that's it. We can hear you loud and clear, definitely. Let me just give... see, I don't know if people are watching the channel, if you can actually hear Nick now. Nicholas McCartney. I haven't told everybody who's joined, but I just have now. How are you doing?
I'm all right, actually, yeah.
You sound upbeat this morning, sir.
Yeah, I feel a bit better today.
Good. I've missed you. It's always difficult on Facebook Messenger to actually gauge how people's feeling, and maybe I should give you a ring, but I've been busy myself. And I've been organising a few things, Nick, so everything's all in hand, dates and times and organising and getting materials there. But we're going to come down and help you. But before we talk about that, Nick, can you just tell our viewers who you are, where you're from, and what you do?
So my name's Nick McCartney, and I'm based in Banbury in Oxfordshire. and I run Alexander John Garden Design, and my web address is www.banburygardeners.co.uk.
Right, great. Nick, you've been on before. I think people know who you are. You had an interesting story. Can you tell us a little bit about that, if that would be okay?
The health front.
Yeah, we want to know about it. As long as you're okay with it.
Yeah, that's fine. So in 2008, I had a kidney transplant following 12 years of dialysis, 3 nights a week for 4 hours each session. And I had a transplant in 2008, and that lasted 12 years. And then in early January 2020, I had to go back onto dialysis. And in November 2020, I had open heart surgery. And following the surgery, I had a stroke. And then I had COVID, and then I had pneumonia. And I had to go into rehab to almost learn how to walk again. I'm still in an electric chair, but I can't walk really because I'm not strong enough. But the good news is I've gone a whole month now without having to have a blood transfusion.
A whole month?
Yeah.
And how are you feeling?
Well, I'm feeling actually okay. I'm feeling all right, actually.
I'm amazed, Nick, to be honest, and we've talked about this before. Nick went through a period where he got COVID and he was going through a rough patch, and I've said this before, I really had really bad thoughts about whether you could pull through it, Nick, but your tenacity, you're like a little honey badger, really, aren't you?
Yeah.
Brad Williams is watching now. He said, wow, what an incredible story. He said he wishes you all the best. But Nick,
Thank you.
You got plenty of time left, like me, mate. Nick, just to let you know, if we were in Australia, I probably wouldn't be here now because I got bit by a snake this week.
Oh my gosh.
No, really.
What was it? An adder?
It was an adder, yeah. So the doctor that I seen, he was a medic in the army and in the Marines, and he studied a lot of this stuff in Africa. And he said all the indications, all the signs. The only thing I actually seen was his mouth when he went back. But I'm not laughing at Nick. I just think that in 7 weeks in Australia, never seen a snake. They were putting snake barriers up when we were there for the red-bellied black snakes. Never seen a snake at all. And here I am. I was down by the river. I thought I just got to clean the brush back because I want to see the river and enjoy the river and watch the trout jumping up after the flies and you know the nature and the ducks and all that sort of thing, the cranes and the kingfishers. And then I went down there and I got involved with the wildlife, but I got bit by an adder. And it was Nick. It was like hypodermic needles injecting acid into my arm.
Yeah. I've never had the pleasure of that one.
Yeah. Look, we got Steve on here, Sick of Lies. His name's on YouTube. Steve says, mate, my heart goes out to you. Keep your chin up. Well, I can assure you, Nick is keeping his chin up. Nick, can you explain to our viewers now what we're going to be doing for you in a few weeks' time, or whenever it's on the 8th, I think it is, 11th.
Yeah. So you're very kindly coming down to. I've got 3 allotments that I do with my wife, and they were our biggest. Well, they're still our passion, but I can't really do them being stuck in a wheelchair because I have a manual chair when I go up there, and getting about up there in a wheelchair is bloody impossible.
Is it really?
But
how will the path out, Nick? And will it like get you around the veg boxes a lot more simpler?
Yeah, particularly on plot 1 because I'm really restricted by a slope to start with, going down into the plot, and then I can get round easier in plot 1, and I could get into the polytunnel to tend to the produce. But you're putting paving down for me to make my life more easier and bearable.
How is it, Nick, with like in a wheelchair to actually get into those boxes? Is it still difficult?
It's not difficult now. They've been raised up. No.
Right. So because with all due respect, Nick, you're very tall and you've got long arms as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
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 So
I'm 6'6" when I stand.
6'6".
But
I couldn't believe it, Nick. Honest, 6'6". That's huge. Because how tall is your dad?
well, my dad's 6 foot, so I tower over all of them, over all the family.
Yeah, absolutely. What sort of things, Nick? I know it's going to be late in the year. I know it's a bit annoying, but unfortunately, that's the only way we can actually do it. But what sort of things are you going to be able to sort of plant or harvest in your boxes once these wheelchairs is in? Some of the things that you're going to be working with.
So I'm going to be able to harvest the carrots, the beetroot, the runner beans, the dwarf beans, the calendulas, the flowers.
Calendulas. What's the calendulas, Nick?
So a calendula is a cut flower, but we grow it really to make soap. Well, Michelle makes soap with it.
Soap. How does she make soap out of a flower? How does she extract whatever it is? What tell us about the process.
Well, I don't know the process. Michelle does, so you'd be better speaking to her about that.
I need to know a little bit more about that, Nick. I've seen lots of commercials recently on social media about stop using all these gels in the shower when you've got some of these more natural products, isn't it? We can get a lot more.
Yeah.
We can get a lot more from our gardens, can't we, Nick?
Yeah, we can. We can. As I say, we grow vegetables and flowers, but we also do companion planting. And our biggest collection of flowers is lavender. So we want to ideally build our lavender stock up so we can make more lavender soap and oil.
Oh, John, Nick, I just love what you're saying this morning. We're talking about soap and lavender oil. It's just absolutely beautiful sounding this morning. I love the sound of it. So, Nick, where did all this stem from? Where did the love of plants come from? I know you've talked about it before, but tell us a little bit more about it. I want to know more about it.
So I'm quite lucky because my granny, bless her heart, she's in heaven now, but she was the one that sowed the seed, and she was into cottage garden planting, and she won Garden of the Village competition about 7 years on the row. But my mum's parents, they were market gardeners, and they grew a lot of vegetables, and I guess I get the feed from both of them.
Oh, that's brilliant, Nick. Nick, seriously, right? Be honest with me now, right? How much I've spoken about this before. How much from the allotment do you actually eat and consume?
Well, we freeze most of it. We've just had an absolute bumper crop of strawberries this year, and they're slowly falling away now. But we're on to the raspberries, and admittedly, you know, we have a summer crop and we have an autumn crop, but the autumn crop we didn't get planted in time. But yeah, we freeze as much as we can.
Right. Okay. And do you make pies and that sort of stuff with it, and and freeze it?
Do we what?
Do you actually make any raspberry pies or stuff like that with it?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, jam mainly.
Yeah. Nick, have you still got an appetite? Because when you're in your wheelchair, and I reckon you must consume so much energy pushing that wheelchair around. Surely.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, but I have to watch what I eat because certain foods are very high in potassium, like raspberries and that sort of thing. So and with dialysis, you see, I have to watch my levels.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can imagine. Look, Nick, the thing we can talk about this anytime. We can talk about this again in a minute. But the thing that I want to sort of try and get over at the moment, Nick, is to the people that watch these live streams, is that When we commission somebody to do, just changing the subject just for a second, Nick, when we commission somebody to do a project for us, be it whatever it is, I mean, it doesn't have to be landscaping, it can be electrical work or wallpapering or anything. What should the consumer be looking out for, Nick?
Say again, go on.
Yeah, what should the consumer look out for? Because there are members of the public that are actually watching this morning. You know, I get lots of messages, Nick, usually about patios and stuff like that. It drives me. I I like it, but I just want to diverse a little bit more into what I'm good at as well. You know, and it's not just necessarily about paving. But a lot of people are having lots of problems with paving and contractors in many ways. The finish, the quality, and also during the process where contractors don't necessarily do what they say they're going to do and what they've agreed to do. So how can the consumer sort of start to gauge and start to get a good balance of the contractor that they're going to use? What can you give us any tips?
Well, I guess a lot of it's common sense, really, because you want to vet the contractor as much as possible. You want to see their past work as much as possible, and you want to see references, and that would be a good starting point, I think, really.
Yeah, absolutely, and I totally agree with you. You know, it is a good starting point. You know, but when you say that you need to see references, do you see written references, or do we take it as gospel? What can be seen online is, you know, like a Google review. Because I'll be honest, Nick, a couple of years ago, I know that there was some contractors across the country writing reviews for each other on Google.
Yeah, I wouldn't take Google as gospel, because it can be infiltrated rather a lot. I use House, which is a HOUZZ, which is a platform where I can display my work and I can get written profiles, recommendation referrals from my past customers. I've got about 16 on there, and it takes a lot to be members, but once you're a member and you pay for the profile to be made public,
right? Okay,
it's really good.
Right, we've got Yvonne Gordon joined us this morning. Yvonne was the lady I was speaking to last night. She just said it's a hard lesson to learn. Yvonne's gone down the road and she's not happy with how things have transpired. What would you say to Yvonne now? I know it's difficult to sort of give a good account, Nick, on your behalf for Yvonne, because you don't know the history, but there's a few things that she's not happy about and it hasn't turned out as she wanted. And it's about getting the contractors to come back and look at it. What advice would you give her now on how to liaise it or deal with this contractor, Nick?
Well, I would say don't pay any more money to the contractor until they start responding to your emails, and you can get a plan in action and go from there.
Yeah, so can you elaborate on that a little bit more? Can we delve a little bit more into that, Nick?
Well, really, just don't pay any more money,
right,
and draw up a plan of action and email it back and forth to make sure you're both happy with it, and then take it from there.
Yeah, and so Yvonne she says, too late, all money paid. So Yvonne's listening now. So she said, all money's paid. So can we move on to the next stage, Nick? She's not happy about the work. What would you suggest? Does she write down the snagging list and tell them that the things she's not happy about?
Yeah, by all means, do that. But also, you may have to appoint another contractor, but do your research and, really do your research.
Nick, let me just butt in now at this point, just to let our viewers know. Nicholas McCartney is a very successful garden designer, plantsman and landscaper in the Banbury area in Oxford. And Nick, what's the name of the website again if people wanted to drop you a message?
www.banburygardeners.co.uk.
There we are. You had it from the horse's mouth. I don't know if we can actually get that up. Paula Collins on here now. She said it's an absolute nightmare. Unfortunately, Nick, this is the route that we've gone this morning, and people value your opinion. So Yvonne's gone down that road now. We were talking about she needs to make a list, maybe a snagging list of the things. Does she get another contractor in now and to have a look at it, or does she get the people to come back? What would you say?
Well, was she happy working with the contractor she had? Because if she wasn't, then I would speak to other contractors or get them round to get their viewpoints. But don't part with any more money until you got a contractor you're happy to work with in place.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. But Nick, this is the thing, you see. This is the thing again, and I've seen it happen before where Yvonne now, just say for instance, she is looking for another contractor. Maybe she's looking for somebody like me to go around and have a look and maybe actually put a list together for her. At what point is whether it's me or whether it's somebody, how valuable is the contractor that's going to help them to determine what needs to be done?
How what?
How valuable is the contractor, and how do we sort of gauge the contractor in respect of how good they are to be able to write a list down and recommendations what needs to be done? Is it worth anything?
It is valuable. Yeah, it is valuable. Well, it's time well spent actually to do this list and review contractors that are in the area or outside the area, because further afield, if they're happy to wait, or they can book you in at a later date to come back and do the snagging, then by all means do that.
Yeah, Nick, Mario Rizzi's just said, is there a patio ombudsman? But I don't think there is a patio ombudsman. I think
no,
Nick,
I haven't come across that. No.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, Nick. I've seen so-called professionals out there that go along and give advice on patios, but when you actually delve deep into their background, their knowledge in the civil side and landscaping side isn't what it seems to be, and I don't think they're actually any better than the people that have done the jobs in the first place. And I certainly know of an instance where certain individuals have done courses on how to be a professional witness, and literally they've sat on these courses for 2 hours, Nick. 2 hours.
Yeah.
And paid about £90 to do the course, and then they've become a professional witness. I just think that it's not a good thing, is it, really?
No, it's not really. Practical experience is pays better, or is better for the individual rather than a written course of 2 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and experience as well, of course, isn't it, Nick? I think I think the most important thing. I'm sorry for digressing with this morning, but I think it's relevant. It's what this podcast is about this morning for some reason. Philip Jones says, YouTubers and Instagram leaders are the real experts who are proud to show their techniques and work. Well, I'll tell you something now, Phil. I got to be honest. I'm always here to help, but Nick, I think for me to actually to go along and to be a so-called professional witness, I don't think it's something I'd actually want to go and do, to be honest. If just imagine when you're called upon in a court case, and God forbid you get down that road. For anyone, we won't want that, but it's a difficult thing, isn't it, Nick, for anyone to go into court and give an opinion on something, because a lot of these things are opinions, and they're not necessarily, the problems they have are not always British standards, are they?
No. But there is back to Yvonne. What I can do actually, John, is I will send you the link of somebody I know who might be able to help Yvonne. I've just had a brainwave.
Right, okay. I hope it's not the same person I'm thinking about. I didn't think was very good because I think there'd be a conflict of interest there. Like, but yeah, look, Yvonne's. I think she's local to me, and I said to her, I don't mind actually going along and having a look and giving her some advice. I mean, I think we should just old fire with that at the moment, because I don't want to send her down the road, because I think I've seen out there so many of these professional witnesses that I don't think that have any value, Nick, and I wouldn't want to recommend anybody that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go along and see Yvonne, I think myself, possibly in the future. If Yvonne still wants me to come along, I'll have a look at that job. Not that I will be charging her anything for it. I'm going to go along as an individual and as a friend, okay, of the landscaping community. And I think I'd rather do it that way initially and just see how bad the job is. It's such a shame though, Nick, when people spent their hard-earned money. People spend years working for this money, don't they?
Yeah, they do, very much so, and it really upsets me and infuriates me when I see a lovely garden that's being created and there's problems left, right and centre.
And you see it straight away when you walk in, Nick. Mario Rizzi says, what a great name, Nick. Mario Rizzi, what a fantastic name, isn't it? He says, we all make mistakes, own up to them and put them right. It doesn't take long. That's a good point, isn't it?
It is, very much so. You learn from your mistakes.
When we have a problem, when I look back over the years when I was a young lad and when I was starting out, Nick, and bringing up children, it's tough. The pressure's on, and day in, day out, you're doing this daily grind, and you have that phone call that you just don't want. And isn't it better just to get on it and get it sorted rather than procrastinating and argue with your customer?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yvonne says, I could be that I'm too fussy. That's not the case though, is it?
No. Be as fussy as you like. It's your garden and you've got to live with it. And
she's put a question mark after that, Nick. She says, it could be that I'm too fussy. And she's put a question mark. She's not being fussy, is she? She has expectations, and isn't it the contractor that should realise those expectations by the consumer, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is indeed.
Nick, are there things that you used to put in place when you're on a project, quality control, I should say, were there quality control processes and procedures that you had in place when you were working?
Yeah, well, there were quite a few. So planting, for instance, because I'm a big plantsman, and I always had lots of plants in place, and I always had like a backup list of plants to fall back on if the customer wasn't happy.
Right. Okay. When it comes to the plant side of things, yeah, and that was already, you had that ready for them, did you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So is that about preempting things?
Yeah.
Right. Do you think contractors don't preempt stuff properly?
I don't think they preempt enough.
Yeah. Can we clarify what preempt means, Nick? Because I don't want to be sort of derogatory and sort of undermine people and be sort of ridiculing people. But what do we do when we preempt? Can you explain that?
So when you go and see a client and you do their design or agree their works, you've got like a backup plan of the plants that you want to use and the plants that you could use. The same way with the paving, if you want to, you could use like the porcelain, or alternatively, you could use like the sandstone. So you're giving the customer options.
Yeah, absolutely. Daniel Hurley, just to let you know, and Shad says first, he says, clarifying expectations with customers is key. Daniel Hurley says this is the importance of having a written contract, clearly illustrating what work the project will email, timescales, and costing, etc. And he goes on to say, Daniel says, regular discussions with client to determine whether they're happy with the workmanship and progress of the project.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that one.
Yeah. Shad says the preemptive strike. We need to carry on communicating, because what we don't want as contractors, Nick, we don't want that big list at the very end, do we?
No, we don't want the big list. So I used to, when I was landscaping myself and doing the planting schemes, at the end of each day after I'd cleaned up, I would see the customer and I would talk them through what we'd done and we were going to do the following day, and what would they, did they have any issues or bits and pieces like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick, apart from gardening and landscaping, do you have any other interests in anything else? I'm not changing the subject now because I want to know a little bit more about you. I listen to Vanessa Phelps in the morning. I'm on the road at 6:30 in the morning just lately, and I listen to Vanessa Phelps on Radio 2 in the morning, and she does this thing about, she asks people about the year they were born and about, what year they were born, what was number one. Do you like music, Nick?
I haven't a clue.
Do you like music at all? Music?
I do, yes. I like most genres actually, but I relax to classic FM.
Classic FM, Nick. I'm a great lover of classic. I'm a bit eclectic when it comes to music. But Nick, do you want to know what? And we gotta have a little bit of fun here. Do you want to know what was number one the year you was born?
What was it?
Well, what year were you born?
1973.
Yeah. What's the date?
8th of December.
Right. Let's find out, Nick. 1973.
Yeah.
Hey Nick, you're a spring chicken. No, Nick, I just put 1873. I do apologise. 1973. Here you are, Nick. Here it comes. I'll tell you now. What was the number song in birthday 1973? Let's have a look. I got to tell you this, Nick, because I want you to see the song in 11th December 1973 was Slade. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Oh my God.
Do you remember that, Nick?
I do remember it, and it's been played Christmases after Christmas after Christmas, and I'm sick of it.
Well, now you know, Nick. I found a little bit of interest about you. So you like the classic stuff. Would you play if you were in work and the customer allowed it? Would you often play any music when you was in work, Nick, working?
I would always ask their permission first.
Yeah, absolutely, Nick. There's nothing worse when you have a contractor that has the radio blasting out, with all those sounds. It's not good at all, is it?
No.
Any TV? Do you watch any TV documentaries or anything at all?
Sometimes I do, yeah.
Yeah, and
I mainly watch the garden programs.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick, I had the pleasure of meeting a young lad this week, Ben Pope, who does some work on, he's the coordinator, the landscaper on Garden Rescue, and the designer there as well was Chris Earl and Charlie Dimmick. Now, I know Chris from 5 years ago, and unfortunately, they sometimes get bad feedback because of methods or techniques, but it wasn't certainly what they're doing now, and they've changed things. And is it not difficult, Nick, to work with a budget? The idea is to see what you can create in a couple of days on a budget. Is that a difficult thing to do?
It is very difficult because do they want soft landscaping or hard landscaping?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what Charlie done on this particular project, I can't talk about it too much, but there was planting involved, there was wood involved in the garden and turfing. And one of the things got raised, Nick, was that you'll have people that will say they were spot laying, but certainly the job I seen, they weren't spot laying at all. And I think Chris Earl responded in a post this week on social media, and Chris actually said that you'll get no spot laying on this job. Do they deserve some respect and a tap on the back for what they're doing in a couple of days?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, and I think so as well. And I just think that it's a little bit unfair with what the guidelines, what the BBC have set out for them to do. Nick, how many people do you think would turn up in a garden, look around a garden, and just imagine, we go through the side gate, Nick, we go down a long alleyway, it's a semi-detached, the old Victorian red brick, and then on enter the garden, we can see the grass is overgrown, and then we can see elements in the borders of some cottage planting in the borders, okay? And then we look down the bottom of the garden, there's some bricks, there's some old bits of timber, some slate, some few cobbles hanging around, a little bit of metal, from a garden burner or something like. How many people could actually, do you think, Nick, have the creativity to produce something beautiful in a couple of days with a very low budget?
I think very few.
Yeah. And can we salvage things in gardens like that, Nick? Can we do something with it without?
Yeah, you can salvage it. You could salvage it, but you could definitely put it to one side for future use.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, we spoke about this before. When we look at a garden, for me, Nick, if I was going into a garden, right, and I want your advice on this now for other landscapers that are starting out in this business, is that if I went along and seen the customer, and the customer said to me, John, I want some money to spend on that blank patch now in the back, the first thing I would put in, I put in a tree. That'd be the first thing be on my list.
Yeah, but you need to make sure what time of the year you're doing it.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. But do we start with planting first? Is planting is the priority for you as a contractor and for me?
Well, it depends really, because if they're having hard landscaping, you'd want to do the hard landscaping first, and then sheet over the hard landscaping to put the planting in.
But what I'm saying is, if they've got a budget of say of £1,000, and they said to you, "Here's £1,000," where would you spend it, Nick? Forget about the hard landscape and soft landscape. They're leaving it to you. You've got £1,000 in a garden. It's just a lawn there, maybe an old decked area or something. Where would you spend your money?
On the plants.
On the plants, and that's the point that I'm making, Nick. There are contractors, hard landscapers out there. That isn't it essential for them to learn about plants?
It is definitely. Not enough landscapers are doing planting schemes in their work.
Yeah, absolutely. Mario Ritzy says budgets are the hardest things to get from the customer, but can you get the budget from the customer, Nick? Is it okay for a contractor, a landscaper, not necessarily a designer? Can he ask what their budget is?
By all means, yeah. That should be one of your primary questions when seeing the customer for the first time.
There you are. I'm glad that you said that, Nick. And is it? These guys are in business, aren't they? They should be asking for what the budget is, shouldn't they?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Brad Williams says, I'd spend it on fuel to get to the job. Do you see problems at the moment, Nick, with the current marketplace, and do you feel there's going to be a downturn in the market because of inflation, etc.?
Yeah, definitely. It's a very worrying time for all industries.
And what would you do, Nick, for, say, from the landscaper side of this perspective, is do they sort of look at other income generating activities, not just the hard landscapes? Do they actually start thinking about the planted side of things, or maintenance as well, where a customer?
Yeah, definitely. Anything to do with gardening, like maintenance or plant sourcing or hanging baskets or planted tubs, then they should be looking at all of that.
And are there things during the winter period where, like, for example, because some customers are going to say, look, we can't afford the patio this year, but we want to tidy it up, and garden maintenance, whatever that consists of, that's going to get them through, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Philip James says, ask a contractor for a method statement, systems of work. Yvonne says herself, budget is key for her. Even as a consumer, she said budget was actually key. So she had that budget, and it's like, is it a bad thing for a customer to actually tell their contractors? Are they not giving away what they've got to spend, Nick, and just then contractors just fit the budget to what they think is good enough?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, what I was saying is sometimes are they not giving the game away by sort of telling them what their budget is from that point perspective?
They're not giving the game away because they're going to be honest and tell them.
Right, okay. Yeah, because from one contractor to another contractor, it may be feasible for some, it may not be feasible for others, mightn't it?
Exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with that, is there?
No, nothing wrong with that at all.
Philip James says, don't be afraid of Asda plants. Been great for me. He's been sourcing some of his plants from Asda. What do you think, Nick, when you actually go into the supermarket sometimes and you go outside and you see Morrison's and Asda and Tesco's, they've got plants outside. Oh, they got like the roses inside. How good are they?
Well, again, you see, it comes down to experience and staff and knowledge. You know, I mean, they haven't really got the experience to look after them.
They haven't?
No.
Oh, yeah. I see what you mean now. You mean staff around the stores?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then the plants aren't good then when they're being sold, are they?
No, they're not. No.
Yeah. Nick?
I mean, they're full of, you know, the shops are full of bargains, but, trying to find, plant a garden from a supermarket, you need to go to a proper garden centre and get proper advice.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Brad Williams says, Nick, he says, everyone has a budget regardless of what they say. Their budget is necessarily because we could price for a job out of their budget rather than suiting their needs. Shall I read that again, Nick?
Yeah.
He's Brad Williams. He says, everyone has a budget regardless of what they say. Their budget is a necessity because we could price for a job out of their budget rather than suiting their needs.
Yeah, definitely. But don't forget, when you do a planting scheme or do something for a customer, plant out of season so that the customer's got some colour later on in the year. If it's something like a perennial or a shrub or a bulb.
Right. Okay. And what sort of things are we thinking about, Nick, for the winter, or some of the stuff that we can actually work with in the gardens?
Wallflowers.
Okay.
Bulbs.
Any particular wallflowers, Nick?
The bedding wallflowers.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I think they're called the Erysimum. I can't remember the genus, but it's the Erysimum winter bedding.
Yeah, I know. Look, Nick, just that we got a message coming in from Yvonne now. She says, thanks. She says, I feel supported. Got to go now. Have a lovely day. But she says, thank you very much for the advice that you've given her now this morning, Nick. So that's really, really appreciate. You probably don't realise, Nick, what you've actually done this morning. You've actually inspired and generated a little bit of confidence now going forward for them.
Good.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick, how does like I said, I want to go back to this. A contractor now, he's doing some paving, he's doing the raised beds and the turf and everything. How does he offer his services as the plant side of things, like, to a customer? How does he add it into his portfolio? How does he present it?
Well, I should put it on the website to start with.
Yeah. That
you do planting schemes, or you prepare to do a planting scheme for this raised bed.
Right. Okay. So, and when they're there, he should be really saying to his customer, because even if he didn't know exactly what needed to go in that raised bed, if his knowledge of plants wasn't so good, he can come to people like you, can't he?
He can, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sort of playing devil's advocate here, Nick, but, I'm trying to get this out to contractors. If you've put that raised bed in, you've created that border, what you need to do, and tell me, Nick, as well, tell them now, they need to offer the offer of being able to plant that up. And there's nothing wrong with not knowing what plants to go in there, because they're going to get the professional advice, aren't they?
No, that's right.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Nick. I try to encourage these people to do that, but they don't seem to jump on board with offering this service, and they're missing out, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They're missing out big time, because when I was landscaping, I've always got to look at the bottom line and how can I make it bigger, or how can I, improve the profit, and plants do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nick, when we think passion is great, but we need the profit as well, don't we?
You need
the profit. We need profit as well, don't we?
You do, yeah. You need profit.
Yeah, Nick, just for a second, I'm just going to just stay with me. You're okay for a minute. We're doing really well here, Nick. We're on 54 minutes, and on the hour we'll be knocking on the head. But I just want to tell our viewers now, this is Saturday Morning Live with Johnny Boy, and our special guest now is Nicholas McCartney. Nick, tell our viewers who you are. Just to remind them, because we've got 29 live viewers at the moment, and there people are still listening to you, Nick. So tell us who you are, Nick. Tell our viewers who you are again. Just remind them.
So I'm Nicholas McCartney of Alexander John Garden Design, based in Banbury in Oxfordshire. My web address is www.banburygardeners.co.uk.
There we are, Nick. If somebody dropped you an email now, and what sort of things do you think they're going to drop you an email? They're going to ask you about planting plans, garden design, yeah?
Anything they want.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter where they are in the country either, does it?
No, it doesn't. Because I've got the internet and my computer here, I can answer them and send them pictures just to help illustrate what I'm speaking about.
Yeah, and just please remember, if you're a consumer that watches this at a later date or a contractor, please be aware that it's great offering advice like Nick and I can actually do this morning, and I'll take calls anytime generally, but it comes to a point where our time is our money, isn't it, Nick?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, absolutely. 29 live viewers, Nick, and that's because of you this morning. This will go out later on, and within a couple of weeks, it should have about 500 or 600 views on it, which is great for a podcast. I see the podcast the other day by, I think, Blue Circle Cement, and they had 18 views in 18 months, Nick. So what you're actually doing, well, there you are, Nick, and that's the thing. Well, that's why these podcasts are absolutely valuable. And when you look at that gauging, Nick, of big corporate companies like that, we're doing well, aren't we?
We are doing very well, yeah.
Yeah. Look, we're going to get this this garden done for you, and I'm looking forward to it. And I'm just glad, and it's, to be honest, it's a bit of a relief for Alison and I, and through a couple of other guys that I've tried, that they're going to be involved, not tried, that are going to be involved, and we want to get this thing done for you. And I apologise that it's taken a little bit of time, but you know, all good things come to those who wait, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And are we able to do a podcast when we're doing it, Nick?
I think we could, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll be speaking to you soon about that, Nick, this morning. Nick, have you got your last little bit of advice? Let's get some little perspective on this now. Some advice to a consumer now, just in 1 minute, sum it up what they should be doing. And we'll do that for the contractor. But just do the consumer first. If you was giving some advice to a consumer about choosing a contractor, whether it's planting or garden maintenance or hard landscapes, full design, what do they need to do and be aware of?
They need to be aware of the traders' references and work, and look for their...
Are you there, Nick?
Yeah, sorry, I cut out.
Yeah, no, it's fine. And you're saying just look at references and just be aware of and just try and get a little bit of information. And is it good for them to maybe go and have a look at some of the work these contractors have done?
Yeah, ask the contractor for the opportunity to go and visit the client where they've worked before.
Yeah, Brad Williams says, Nick, he says, Nicholas, you've been great. Thank you very much. Fantastic, Nick, when you get that sort of... No, and he loves it. So as a contractor, what should a contractor... Tell us a little bit about his obligations. Sum it up, Nick, in a minute if you can. What's the obligations of a contractor with his consumer when they're going to see him?
Sorry, to say again?
I was saying, what's some of the obligations of a contractor when he goes and sees a potential client? What should some of the things he should be doing to reassure his potential client?
Selling ideas, and not be afraid to show them their previous work, because that instills confidence in the clients, and submit references or get references, or even go to a platform on the website, on a public website, so that the client can read perspective, like references on like Trustpilot.
Yeah, absolutely. And Trustpilot is good. Brad Williams says, Nick, he says, we offer our clients to view our previous work either with or without us, and we just set the visit up. That's a good thing, isn't it? Because sometimes,
That's good, yeah.
yeah, you don't necessarily want to go across. This is something that we've always done for years. Alice and I, we always give our customers the option, but they don't seem to want to take it these days. I don't know why. Whether I'm improving, whether I'm getting the message out there, or whether I'm getting better. Do we get better when we get older, Nick, or do we get worse?
I think we get better.
Do we?
Yeah.
I think we become more humble, don't we?
Yeah, we've certainly become more humble.
Yeah, I have. I think for me, Nick, I think when you're passionate and you love your work, and I think sometimes you're passionate about it, it can quite be disheartening, can't it, sometimes? Hi, Nick.
All right.
Yeah, I was saying sometimes, like for me when I was younger, because I'm really passionate, and when things went wrong, I would get quite disheartened and I would take it personal. But we haven't got to take it personal, have we?
No, we haven't. No. Take it in your stride.
Yeah. How do we deal with that stress, Nick? How do we, when you say take it in your stride, you just got to just grin and bear it, just swallow it and just, move on.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. It's not worth the hassle.
Tomorrow's a new day.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree, Nick. And I think, honest, mate, I'll be honest with you, when I look back years ago, I think, my God, I just, how was I ever in this business? But I had no idea. And maybe I've got no idea now in some respects. But I think that, I think you get better, don't you?
They do, yeah.
Yeah, you get better. Well, Nicholas McCartney, thank you very much for joining me this morning. You've been absolutely inspirational.
My pleasure.
No, you've been a real light on here, Nick, this morning. Say hello to Michelle for me, and we're going to speak sometime soon anyway. So,
okay,
Nick, take care. God bless.
Cheerio.
All the best. Bye-bye. Well, there you are. That was. It's great having Nick on. I mean, he adds, so much value to this channel, and I couldn't do it without him. He's my wingman, and he's certainly delivered there. And I hope that it helped you. Absolutely amazing the amounts of people that actually viewed this morning and the comments that was coming through. Really, really appreciate all those comments. And it's you guys that make this channel what it is. So thanks very much for that. Well, there you are. It's over. We're over the hour, okay? And I always like to go on for a little while just to say thank you and show my appreciation. You'll notice this week I've been loading. I did one vlog, but I've been loading lots of different shorts. Shorts on YouTube is similar to what TikTok is in some respect, but I actually like the shorts on YouTube because it's all in one channel and it's more relevant, I think it is. And you see some of those little bits and pieces. And sometimes I head off in a different direction, and it's not necessarily about landscaping, but this channel is about a community. It doesn't matter what, it doesn't always have to be about landscaping. It can be there to sort of advise and to help if you're struggling in other ways as well. So don't forget that. Right, that's it. Thanks for joining this morning. Lee Martin, we will get your suction cup off you. Maybe I'll see if I can get some gifts again next week to give away, but it's not about the gifts. It's about you, and you make this what it is. Thanks for joining. Have a great day, and see you soon. All the best. Bye. If anybody wants to contact me, the number is 07795 595 994. Take care. Bye-bye.